All right. Welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I'm Jason Green. Hopefully you've been enjoying all the interviews that we've been putting out. New interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, they say you always remember your first. And the first hard rock heavy metal band that I remember hearing was Twisted Sister. 1984. It was the perfect time to be rebellious. I wanted to rock. I didn't want to take it. And I convinced my mother to get me the Stay Hungry cassette and put it in my Christmas stocking that year. And after hearing it, my life was changed. My uncle went and bought me the first two Twisted Sister records, and I've been an SMF ever since. So it is an honor today to talk to the one and only Eddie Ojeda of Twisted Sister, and we're going to do that right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. All right, let's bring him in. Here he is. Oh, hold on. Eddie Ojeda.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, Eddie. I'm excited about this one. We're going to learn everything people wanted to know about Twisted Sister and Eddie Ojeda, but we're afraid to ask.
Okay.
Now, let's get started. You know, I was born in the Bronx. You're from the Bronx.
Born in the Bronx, too, yeah.
Yeah, you're a Boricua from the Bronx.
Ace is from the Bronx. Ace used to live a couple miles from me.
Yeah, he's got a song out called Bronx Boy.
Yeah.
And so my question is, and my whole life I've been wondering, Eddie Ojeda, Eddie Ojeda.
Okay. It's really pronounced Ojeda. Ojeda in Spanish. It's Eddie Ojeda. In a Spanish-speaking country, no problem. But in America, you know, ever since I was in high school, and people always said Ojeda because they saw the OJ. And, you know, Ojeda didn't sound as good to me. So, you know, for American sakes, I say Ojeda, like, you know, D would say Eddie Ojeda. But if somebody wants to say Ojeda or Ojeda, it's okay as well. But Ojeda was just more Americanized. It's like, you know, it's like what happened to pizza. Same thing that happened to pizza. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, they Americanize everything.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Well, that first time I think I started to realize it must be Ojeda is because that's how D would introduce you. So I figured, okay, we're going that way.
But it's spelled Ojeda.
Right.
You know, technically, the J, like Jose, people don't say Jose. But, you know, if you pronounce the H, some people say Ojeda, which is wrong too, because you're pronouncing the J with a Spanish H sound, but the E, you know, is silent at that point. So you sound, the E is being pronounced with an American accent, so it doesn't make sense. I think Ojeda sounds better than Ojeda, or Ojeda is what a lot of people, you know, other Ojedas that I've met, there's very few. I mean, it's a rare name.
Right.
So other people I know say Ojeda.
Yeah, that's what I always thought it would be. But this is not nearly as ridiculous as Carmine Appice or Carmine Appice or Carmine Appice.
He's been there too with that kind of same thing, Appice. For the longest time, I've always said Appice, but I think he prefers Appice, right?
Well, but what's crazy about this is the brothers both have different ones. So Carmine, the drummer, is Carmine Appice, because he was using the slogan "Come get a piece of Carmine Appice" was like a, you know, one of his drum things. Right. And then Vinny is Vinny Appice.
Vinny was always Vinny Appice, yeah.
And their father was Appice. So,
wow, it's funny. It's a little simple thing like this, but it does, you know, because like anybody that speaks Spanish says, "Your name's not pronounced Ojeda, it's Ojeda." You know, I go, "Yeah, well, you speak Spanish." You know, for other people, I'm just trying to make it easy, but you know, it's funny because I always called Carmine Appice. I always said, even when he was in the Fudge, you know, I always said Carmine Appice. And I think Vinny was the one, we toured with Dio, and Vinny was playing drums with him at the time. And he was one that said, "Oh, it's Appice." I said, "Well, aren't you brothers? Aren't you Carmine brothers?" You know. So are they still using separate pronunciations?
I believe so. You know, I worked with both of them, and I called them by the, you know, even though it was the same spelling, I went by whatever they like to pronounce.
It's funny because, I haven't talked to either one of them in a while, but I think last time I talked to Carmine, it was absolutely interesting conversation, right?
Yeah, well, we're going to have to.
Like 20 minutes on names.
Yeah, we'll have to message them. But hey, we're speaking about great drummers. I can't not mention that today, 6 years ago, we lost the great AJ Pero.
Yeah.
And, AJ is one of these great underrated drummers. I think people have learned it later, but we brought him out to play in Las Vegas with Sin City
Oh
Sinners.
yeah,
And he blew us away, and I don't think we expected, because we had all these legendary people, and I don't think we expected. And I got to tell you, it was one of the greatest rock drummers that we'd seen play with us, and we had some major names. And he had to have that Iron Cobra double bass pedal. I remember we had to go find that for him. But not only was he an incredible drummer, he was an incredible person. And I'd like you to talk about him a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, well, it's funny because not funny, but we're doing I'm doing an interview tonight with all the guys, and we're because today's the anniversary of his death. Did you know that?
Yes, 6 years ago today. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's so we're doing a thing with Mendoza has another virtual show that he does, and so it's me, D, the whole band, 4 guys. Me, D, JJ, and Mark is going to be the host. So we're going to bring back AJ's memory, but yeah, the thing was, which is kind of weird. I think maybe because of Twisted Sister being such a kind of visual band, especially with Dee Snider, he's such an energetic, front man, that a lot of times people didn't realize the musicianship, and AJ, to me, AJ is as good as any drummer in the world. I think he's up there with Portnoy, Joe Franco, any of the top drummers. So he was underrated, but I think you played with him and then you realize, like, wow, this guy can do everything. I mean, he could have played with anybody, any kind of prog band. He actually, I think he would have preferred being in a prog band, sort of like Portnoy's band.
Dream Theater?
Dream Theater, yeah. Like, I think he would have preferred being in a Dream Theater type of band rather than, the kind of band we were, like a straight up rock and roll, hard rock band, So, but, he ended up with us and we had a great time, and he kind of always proved it because his drum solos were always amazing.
Yes, for sure.
So, and, we always, as far as doing those solo things, he was the only one that did one because I found the whole everybody taking us 10 minutes or 5 minute solo thing was done too much. So to just do the one thing with AJ was pretty cool because one, he's behind the drums. A lot of people don't get to see him, so it's kind of good to let him get some limelight. So giving him that solo kind of did that. Since we were all in the front, a lot of times the drummers kind of get forgotten, or not seen as much. So this was a pretty good time for the cameras, or whenever we were doing a live show that now, they have projectionists, have cameras. They could focus it on him and he could really get off and do his thing, so it was great.
And they were great. They were great solos. He wasn't just dialing it in. His stood out. Yeah,
it wasn't, I'm going to go get a beer solo.
No.
The crowd, they would stay there and watch it,
Yeah. So anyway, so we got to say rest in peace to AJ.
Definitely. It's really, we really miss him. I mean, like you said, I used to say he's the only nice guy in the band. So, which that sounds like if you're in the band, you get it, but it's kind of like an inside joke. But it's he was just always in a good mood, always joking around, just a great guy, and great sense of humor. He was very good at just adapting to any situation, whether it was bad or good. AJ was, very comfortable doing with anything or everything that was thrown out.
Yeah, he for those who got to know him, he really was a good guy. It was funny because what you're saying is you guys were pretty close, and you were the guys who were kind of open and fun, and maybe the other guys were a little bit more business at times.
Right. like, yeah, me and him were the only ones that really used to go out on days off and party a little bit. The other guys were not so much. Dave never did. I mean, Dave would kind of just stay in the hotels, but me and him used to wander out on days off, but we had very few of those. When we were touring, it would always be like every day we were doing something. So once in a while we had a break or two. I didn't want to just stay in a hotel, for like 2 days. But some guys prefer to do that. I mean, now it's a lot easier because you got internet. You have all these recording facilities. You can record anywhere now. If you have a laptop and a decent microphone or some kind of plug-in, you can write and record stuff anywhere now.
You must look back and wonder, when you go for a walk or something and you use your phone for directions, or just when you're on a plane and you can watch a movie, you must think, how did I get by all those years without this?
Exactly. And it's funny because now if you forget your phone, it's like you left your life support home. Like people just freak out. I've been with somebody where they left their phone home. They go, "Oh God, it was my phone." And the whole time, you're out to lunch or something. The whole time they're worried about their phone. How about I think I left it home. So for an hour, they're like going crazy.
Well, they're worried that gut response, because you go to touch your phone all the time and you check the time and you check everything on your phone. And then you got the other guys who, if they leave their phone at home and their wife finds it, they're dead, so.
That's not good, though.
Yeah. But so, Eddie, I want to talk, you've talked about these records a lot, but I'd like to go through the first 5 and at least get some quick thoughts on the records, because I think a lot of people would like to hear about that. And I know I would as well. So we're going to start with Under the Blade. Now, the story is that the title Under the Blade is about you having throat surgery. Is that true?
That's correct. Yeah. When I had nodules in my throat. Also, I was one of the first people to ever get that in the circuit we were in. So my voice had gotten really raspy. And I went to a throat doctor, and there's like calluses on your vocal cords. So I had to get it surgically removed. And so Dee wrote a song. Actually, I've had that operation twice. It happened to me twice from singing. And so Dee said, "Don't worry about it," because I was really nervous. It's like one of my first times ever having surgery. And when you think of throat surgery, it's pretty scary. So, he said, "I'm going to write a song about it." And that's how Under the Blade came out. It wasn't about sadomasochism like the PMRC thought it was.
Right.
Crazy. That's the whole.
Yeah, you guys.
But right, that was them. That was their thinking. Like, oh, that song is about sadomasochism. No, it's about a guy having surgery. A guy in the band having surgery. Listen to the lyrics. It doesn't say anything. I'm going to whip this guy. I'm going to whip that girl. There's nothing in it that suggests sadomasochism.
No, exactly. Yeah. And you were singing before this record. And do you think that was part of what happened with your throat?
No, I was able to sing again after that. I had to rest my voice for two months at that time. And, my voice came back. My singing voice is fine. I can sing better than ever now.
Yeah, and you sang we'll get to it, your solo record, but you sang on that as well years later. So obviously it did come back. So what was it like when this record came out? There's a Twisted Sister documentary that people can learn a lot more about. But tell me a little bit about the time of this record coming out.
Well, at the time we were, we did it in England, the whole album, and then we remixed it in America. So there was a European release under Secret Records, which is kind of a collector's item now, if you can find it. And then Atlantic Records, of course, bought the rights to that and released it in America or worldwide. And during that time, we were working a lot. It was just a good time. Well, I forgot the exact question you were asking me again.
No, I was just asking for what it was like when that record came out. And like you said, it started in the UK.
Yeah, it started, things were good. It was a busy time. We were just finally got that break, got the record deal. You know, it was one of those periods at the making it stage, you know, getting to that next level. So
Yeah.
it was a good time. You know, I mean, that's part of the whole excitement, you know, getting there. It's, you know, once you get there, it's hard to stay there, but that's part of the whole fun of being in the business.
And for those who don't know, you guys worked your asses off. You didn't get signed overnight. You guys played tons and tons of shows on the club scene. We're packing them, selling them out. You built this band. No one else came in and made Twisted Sister. You were working at it for ages before you get signed.
Yeah, and well, the movie definitely shows that because, and you know, even if you're not into the band or that kind of music, the story of how hard it was, how much we worked, it's a good all around movie for anybody to watch. You know,
Yeah.
Whether you're in the music business or not, because a lot of times, you know, there's very little overnight successes. It does happen, but it's a rare thing. Most people think, most people that all of a sudden get world fame were working at it for 5 or 10 years, and people don't even know that till later on in their person's career. So, you know, that's usually what happens. It's very rare that people get that lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay. So I'm going to fly through these a little bit. You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. This is the follow-up. Bigger Now.
That was we did that in England as well. It was Gus Dungeon's old studio, which Elton John used to own it. Then Jimmy Page bought it off of Elton John.
Wow.
So that was a great place. I mean, it had a place. We lived there. There was a house, and there was like a little bridge to where the recording studio was, which is pretty awesome. It had 2 floors, but there was the main room, and yeah, it was a great vibe. I mean, we were out in the country. I can't remember the name of that town now. So like there was a pub a mile away that you could walk to, and it was, you know, once in a while I'd go there, and there would like be a few old men having a couple of pints. It was like, I mean, we were in the country, you know, nowhere near London, which was good because there was no distractions, and we were able to concentrate on doing the record. But you know, since Jimmy Page bought that studio, this is a pretty good thing to talk about. He had all the Zeppelin masters on the inch reel tapes, the old tape machines. I think it was an inch tape. Remember the old Apex tapes? Were they half an inch or an inch? The inch tapes.
I think it might have been half an inch at that point, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, I forgot, but they used to be the big tapes. They were like about an inch in size with those big tapes. They ran really fast. I forgot the speed. So that was how people recorded, you know, 24 tracks at that time. So I think that was the limit. And so it was a 24-track studio. And, you know, Jimmy Page stashed all the Zeppelin masters there. So, you know, there was a special storage space where they kept all their tapes. And it was pretty amazing to see Zeppelin 1, Zeppelin 2, you know, Zeppelin 3, to see the actual, you know, because those were like, I grew up with those albums. So to be in the studio and see the actual masters there, you know, I could have put it up and looked at it, but I mean, it was just okay. But it was just amazing to see just in you know, regular, with a magic marker, or now it's called a Sharpie, but a magic marker, you know, said Zeppelin 1, Zeppelin 2. Yeah, it was
when you guys got started, you were almost like a Zeppelin cover band for a little while. You know, when
exactly. We did a lot because Dee used to really be into Robert Plant, and he started off with his voice being very high, and he did all the Zeppelin stuff really good. So we did almost everything off Zeppelin 1, you know, but Zeppelin 2, I think we might have done 1 or 2 songs off Zeppelin 2, but it was mostly Zeppelin 1. We covered quite extensively, you know. It was just that kind of album, you know, like Communications Breakdown. All the songs were just so well known, and you know, we had a great time doing it. And we almost became a Zeppelin band. And then all of a sudden, you know, Dee had some problems singing the Zeppelin stuff, and that's how we sort of veered off. But you know, we always had our mind set on, okay, we're playing covers just to make money, to live off of. we always wanted to work towards being an original band, doing original music. That was the whole goal. The gigs were just to pay for us to pay our bills, a way for us to live, instead of having day jobs.
Right.
Because a lot of times, if you have a day job and you're having the band on weekends and stuff, it never really happens because you don't put enough time into it. So when you're working all the time and you're making your money playing and you're making a living off of it, then you have the time during the day to just get together, put songs together, and accomplish what your ultimate goal, which is to make it.
You dedicate the time to it. Did you find that a lot of people like me discovered Stay Hungry and then went back and got these records?
I think that happened a lot. I think it happened quite a bit. Stay Hungry was such a big selling record. Mm-hmm. That was the one that really put us over the top. And we were touring with Iron Maiden when that came out.
Huge.
The World Slavery Tour, and it was funny because we were selling so many. We were selling like 50,000 records a day, And that's when Purple Rain and Thriller were both out. Mm-hmm. So we managed to get into the top 10. I think Thriller was number 1 and Purple Rain was number 2. So we managed to get in the top 10 during a time that was very difficult to get into the top 10 because people were selling millions of records at the time.
Van Halen also in '84, crazy year.
Yeah. So had it not been, it's just that 2 of the biggest selling records of all time were out at the same time. So it was a pretty cool accomplishment. And even though we were on tour with Maiden and they were headlining, obviously. We were selling so many more records than they were, but they were always a live band. They weren't like, I think, kind of like the Stones, but not really like the Stones, but the Stones were always a live band more than a record-selling band like the Beatles, So.
Yeah, and so for people who might be younger watching this, and just to get an idea of how big this album was, MTV wasn't playing Iron Maiden music videos. They were playing Twisted Sister music videos, and they were playing them constantly. And what do you want to do with your life? I want to rock with the guy from Animal House. This was huge, and these videos were played with Cyndi Lauper and Prince and Michael Jackson. It wasn't like, oh, the heavy metal music goes at night. This was pop music, and you guys were on top of the world.
Yeah, people love the videos. Just love the videos. In fact, with MTV, Can't Stop Rock and Roll, when they first started doing the ad with the Moon Man and the MTV logo, they used to play the beginning of Can't Stop Rock and Roll, bam, 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 bam. So a lot of people wrote in and said, who's that band? Is that a band? And that was a little trivia thing with MTV. People used to call in and wonder, what that was. That was before we did the We're Not Going to Take It videos.
It's funny how it starts. I interviewed Mark Weiss the other day, and we were talking about these photo shoots. And he said that at the end he shot the whole band, but at the end of the day, he was going to do individuals, and Dee wanted to stick around, and that they felt like, and he told me that he went and got that bone in the meatpacking district. It's a real bone that he gave to Dee's son, he told me recently. But so the thing that I asked him, and he can't answer, but you can, was there ever any animosity that the next 2 albums only had Dee on the cover?
Not for me. I don't know why, because, when I think about it, it was kind of disappointing that it wasn't the whole band. The whole band was on the back cover, and for some reason, it didn't bother me much. I know it bothered the other guys a lot. But the reason for that was, too, because some of the guys weren't too serious during the whole photo session. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the pictures didn't come out well enough. And unfortunately, I found that out recently, that there was a lot of monkeying around going on during the photo sessions. But, when you're doing a photo session, you're concentrating on yourself and, doing the right poses. So I wasn't looking at anybody else that was goofing around and not taking it serious. And that's one of the reasons that happened, because the record company looked at all the photos and there was a couple of guys messing around, goofing around, not taking it serious. And then they said, you know what? This is a really cool. The picture of D is pretty wild shot that Mark got.
Yeah, this character. This is the branding of the character of D. Snyder at the time.
Exactly.
The image does stand out.
Yeah, and that happened too. It's like then he became D. Snyder. That was D. Snyder, And so I particularly, I was kind of cool with it. I don't know. I mean, now thinking back, it would have been nice for all of us to be on the cover, like on Under the Blade. But it's just the way it worked out. I thought it was a pretty striking picture and an album cover. So I kind of looked at it as like maybe for shock value, it was kind of cool to do that.
Well,
so it didn't bother me.
The team player. You might have the team player mentality too, which is this is a good image. If it's good for the, people see it, it sells records. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I was kind of fine. I was fine with it because I kind of got it, what they were trying to do. And there was no ego involved in that for me. I was just kind of like, I didn't get mad at all. I just thought about, I found out later, in fact, recently, that what happened, that there was a couple of guys who were goofing around and a lot of the pictures came out really bad, and that's why they didn't do an album, a band picture on the front.
Yeah. Now you guys are cranking these records out, 82, 83, 84, 85. We're ready to put out another record, come out and play. And interestingly enough, though, it's another cover. Well, the cover's a manhole.
The pop-up.
Open, and it's just D again. So that's why I wonder, what was that like?
Well, it's kind of, we had that whole stage show. That was a big production, that show. And we never filmed it. It's to this day, I think one guy had an 8mm copy that was horrible, and it was just one song, and it's a terrible copy. For some reason, we did not. I don't know why, because that stage was like $300,000 to make. It was a ridiculous amount of money spent, and we had about 4 or 5 semis, 40 people on the road. There was people. That was like our first big headlining tour, and it was like there was guys I would meet like a month later and say, I see you passing by every day. He goes, yeah, I'm on tour with you guys. Like, because there was like 40 people traveling with us, and I had no idea. I didn't know everybody, all the lighting guys. I had no idea. It was people that after a while I started noticing the same people every day, and I was, I said, do you work at all these places? Because you're going from state to state. This says, no, I'm on tour with you guys. Oh, okay. But some guys like to do their job. A lot of them, especially the real pro guys, they just do their jobs. They don't, try to fraternize or mess with the band or try to get chummy. They're just there to do their gigs, and they kind of try to stay out of trouble, and, which is a smart thing to do. But there was about 40 people working for us, and I didn't even know half of them or ever met them, So, and we never filmed that. And the whole thing with, when we started the show, D would come out from under the stage, and there was a manhole. It looked like a street scene, and there was a wrecked car with graffiti all over it. I don't know if you ever saw a picture of the stage.
I saw some pictures, but nothing else.
I mean, we just have very little stuff from that. We should have taken more pictures of the stage. There's a lot of things. I don't know why that never happened. Maybe we thought we were going to do it somewhere down the road, but we never got to it. And it was quite a production, that whole thing. So once again, didn't bother me. Stay Hungry did so well. I said, hey, this is working. Why mess it up? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And once again, we were on the back. Pretty cool picture out in the streets with graffiti on the back of New York, down in the Lower East Side, New York City. Very cool picture in the back with the whole band.
Yeah.
And, and it was a pop-up. It wasn't just like bam, you had to pop it up. And that was a limited edition. I think they only printed 100,000 of those. because it was expensive to make that. So
Right.
I think that, very few people have the pop-up.
Yeah, most have just the flat, the manhole, and obviously CDs. There was no popping up,
No, and Atlantic. In fact, Atlantic just re-released because now vinyl's coming back.
Right.
A lot of people want to buy vinyl, so come out and play. There's a new version out that's pretty cool. It's a fold open. I don't have it with me, but maybe I'll try and send some pictures of it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I don't know where I put it, but I should. Now I just thought about it. That I'll take some pictures of it and send it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think people would love to see that.
I think they made a limited run of that, and it's very cool because instead of doesn't have a pop-up, but it's a fold-open album, similar to like Layla, or one of those albums, or like Kiss Alive. I mean, there's only one album in it, but
as a game,
open up, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost like two sleeves. One is just a cover, a picture, and it has pictures of all the guys inside. Like it's a really, really well done. So
a lot of your fans who were my age never would have got a chance to see Twisted Sister live. If we discovered the band as kids on Stay Hungry, we weren't old enough to go and see the show, and not until Twisted Sister got back together many years later. And then, of course, I went to every show. I went to every single Christmas residency, thanks to you, here in Las Vegas, because I was making up for all that lost time, and I'm so thankful that I got to see, my childhood band. I want to talk about this one. We got to solve the mysteries on this record. Here it is. Love is for Suckers. This is controversial in the world of Twisted Sister. Now I'm going to tell you some of the rumors. And you're going to tell me what's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Dee Snider claims that this was supposed to be his solo record, and that the label told him they won't put it out unless it's a Twisted Sister record. Now, Beau Hill says he has no recollection of that. He thought he was always making a Twisted Sister record. So let's start with that.
Yeah. I thought it was that's another thing that I found out later, and Dee told me that. He said, "Well, that was supposed to be my solo album." I said, "Well, I didn't know you were trying to get a solo album. I thought, it was another Twisted album." So that's what I always thought it was. And basically, Beau Hill, I think, was not the right guy for us. There's rumors that we didn't play on the record. I played on every song. I played on that album. Everybody played on the album. At the time, Reb Beach was his boy. So he had Reb Beach come in and do some tracks too. But he did some rhythm tracks. But it was, as far as all the leads, all my leads and everything, that was all, that wasn't a studio guy or somebody else. It was me, and Mark played on it, and so did Joe Franco. And Joe Franco had replaced AJ at the time.
Was Joe Franco's drums a drum machine? I also read that the drums were programmed.
Well, yeah, he did the drums at home because he was one of the first guys to have a Mac and know that whole thing. And it saved a ton of time because he got some great drum sounds, and it saved a ton of time. But, the album came out a little too, it was cool, but it came out a little too slick. It didn't really sound like a Twisted record. It was us, but, Beau Hill just kind of, I don't remember him being very nice about, working with him. He was kind of like not very polite. And it just, the vibe just wasn't a good vibe, during the whole thing. And for some reason, Atlantic, I don't know why, I remember there was problems with Dee wasn't getting along with Tom Werman. And Werman did Stay Hungry. And, Motley Crue stayed with Werman, for, once they stayed with Werman with the next album, they still had Werman. I don't think they changed producers till, I forgot which album, but they didn't go from Shout at the Devil and then to Girls, Girls, Girls. They still used Women. We had Stay Hungry, which was kind of like at the same time Motley Crue was doing their albums. We were kind of close, maybe a few months apart in record releases. So, and they had used Tom Werman too. And to me, Tom Werman did the Stay Hungry album. It was a great success. Why change producers?
Right.
So I wasn't into I didn't want to change producers, but for some reason Dee didn't want to work with Tom Werman again. And, I think most of the guys, I don't know if it's one of those things I never really took a poll or never really voted on it. It was just all of a sudden, hey, Bo Hill's doing the next record. And he had, had worked with Rat, but Rat is a different band from us.
Right.
I mean, they're more like of an LA kind of slick band. We were like a tough, raw, hard as nails, rock band, and it was just different. I think Werman worked out better for us as a producer.
Well, Bo Hill made some very slick, flashy albums, and that's good for those bands. Bo Hill was also very known for bringing in session guys behind guys' backs to an extent.
That's another thing that's fucked up. Can I curse? I mean, that's another thing. When you push people on bands, when you don't need other guys, it causes dissension. You know what I mean? People get, it causes animosity. People get, it just upsets the whole thing. Like, well, why do we need? Okay, that guy's a good player, but why do we need him? He's not in the band. Anybody else can. If we can do it, why do we need him? You know what I'm saying? So, but he had a thing about he had his boys that he wanted to take care of and hook up, and he had them under his wing. And I guess he just wanted to have his little arsenal of guys, so he kept throwing stuff at him. But at the same time, he would upset the apple cart by bringing in outside guys that didn't really need to be there.
Right. It seemed like that. Those early Warren records. Some people think that only Janie Lane is the only person on those records. That all the then it's always argued who played what. And then on this record, so Eddie, I got to say, Bo Hill claims, and Reb's modest about it. I've worked with him, but that maybe 90% of the playing on this is Reb Beach. And the
bullshit.
other thing, and you're the source.
Total fucking bullshit. And he knows it. He's a fucking punk ass for saying that.
We're talking about Bo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure did Reb say that?
No, Reb didn't even really want to talk about it. Reb said, I went in and I played some solos and I played some songs with him. Reb did tell me that at one point, JJ French told him, hey, I listened to the record and I could see that's not my playing. He goes, it took me a few years to realize I didn't play some of that. It was obviously you.
Yeah. No, well, he went over JJ solos. Yeah. Not my solos. My solos I played. If it says I did the solo, I played. Reb didn't play my solos. I played my solos.
Right.
And because, we always split it half and half. Like Jay would do like half this, 12 songs, he would do 6, I would do 6. So he did go over. Later I found out that he didn't go over my shit because I know I would have been pissed off.
Right.
And he knows damn well that I did 50% of the record, 50%, like the rhythm guitar stuff is one side is me, one side is Reb Beach on every single song, doubled. And to say that he played 90% is such bullshit and it's a really fucked up thing to say and really childish, and when it's just not true, I mean.
Politically correct. We're going to get canceled, Eddie. We can't say that anymore.
Huh?
Wait, you don't have to worry about it now.
Can you bleep it out or something? But
I don't know.
It's like, I didn't want to throw Reb or Bo Hill under the bus, but if he's going to go around saying that Reb paid 90%, then I'm going to call him a fucking punk.
Yeah.
Because it's total bullshit, and it's it was bad enough that he came in to do the album. Nobody liked him. He wasn't polite. He was rude as hell. And even the guys in Rat hate him. Nobody likes him. They used to hate him because the way he dressed.
Well, you know,
The guys in Rat hate him. So I mean, you know, and what's he doing now? I mean, you know.
yeah, the three guitar players here in question all have a very distinctive sound. It's very easy to tell the difference between JJ and Red Beach, for example. It's just a very different style. But
Yeah.
the same goes with your style. People know if you listen back to the record, you'll know what's Red Beach and what's Eddie. You know, it's there. And so, anyway, yeah. So this record, obviously, a little bit polished, but a lot of people would say this is the record that breaks up Twisted Sister.
Right.
Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, it did. And it started with, you know, Bo Hill creating the problems he created within the band, you know. He just put a lot of stuff out there that wasn't necessary, and it caused problems. When you do something like that and you disrupt a band, and, you know, I don't know why we had to put up with his bullshit, you know, because we're coming off of the Stay Hungry album, very successful record. Yeah. We should have called the shots, not, you know, let the record company call the shots and bring him in. And then he comes in like he's all high and mighty, telling us what to do, you know, and running the show. And, you know, I tell you, things would have been totally different now. And back then, you know, we put up with that shit.
Right.
But, you know, it was just one of those things that he never should have. He should have never worked with us.
Yeah, I agree. Now, here's where it gets interesting to me. Come 88, 89, 90, the glam bands, you know, are skyrocketing. They're coming out of the woodwork. You guys must have really hated each other not to come back, because this is a valuable time to cash in. Twisted Sister would have been huge. These bands would have been opening for you. So how bad was it? Because Dee did the band Widowmaker, but that didn't really go anywhere.
Right.
So what were you guys discussing getting back together at any point? You tell me what it was like.
Rephrase the question again, because I kind of heard.
Yeah, I gave you a lot of thoughts at once.
Yeah.
So the band breaks up, and you see all these other bands coming out that are very similar to your styles and things that you had done way earlier.
Okay.
Why can't you guys get back together in between 1987 and 1990?
You mean like Whitesnake and Motley? You know, they're out there. Yeah.
Well, even the smaller bands now are getting huge, though. Now you've got your Slaughters and your Warrants, and these bands are getting huge.
That's true. Yeah. You know what? It's just kind of weird because that sort of went into the late 80s. That whole scene still stayed very much the same till the 90s when the whole thrash metal thing came in. But you know, that's a tough question to answer. I mean, I think, not sure why we didn't try to put the band back together. I think.
Was there any communication?
Very little. Very little. And then I just remembered, like, Dee quit. Like, we had just come back. You know, the tour wasn't doing well, so Dee quit the band, like, that spring, because we started touring in the winter and we ended at the end of the winter. And then that spring, Dee quit the band, and I didn't know if we were going to get another singer. You still there?
Yep. I just got it on solo view.
Okay. I didn't know if we were going to get another singer or what exactly we were going to do. Like, you know, there was very little communication. We didn't really discuss what to do. We kind of everybody just faded away into their own little world. And not exactly sure why we didn't try to pursue something else. But
I would have to think people were pressuring you. I mean, nowadays a promoter would have been on it in 2 seconds. You know, we got to get the money. We got to get these guys back together. Maybe then it was different.
Yeah, it just for some reason it's like we never officially broke up. Dee quit the band, and we just stopped. You know, and it just stopped from there. It was kind of a shock, and I never pursued. It wasn't really like we hated each other, but I think the Lovers for Suckers record caused a lot of problems. like Bo Hill really just kind of, having him involved, created a lot of things that weren't necessary, and I think it just created a lot of, dislike between band members.
Yeah.
And just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to, like, I can't explain why we didn't try.
It's hard to come back.
Hey, let's try to get somebody else to be the lead vocalist or something. I'm not sure why. It's just one of those things.
So at this point, the world is without the pride of Ho Ho Kuss, New Jersey, right? The home of Twisted Sister. Years go by. Now, maybe one of the reasons why there was so much excitement for Twisted Sister reunion is that you guys didn't cash in all those years. Maybe you should have, but it wasn't until 9/11 happens. You guys are all New Yorkers. You guys do the benefit concert, and somehow you guys agree to get on stage and play together, and it goes well, right?
Yeah. It just happened like that. I mean, Dee started going. There was a guy in Sweden that was doing some shows, and he convinced Dee to do some solo shows. So Dee started going to Europe and doing some solo shows. And he says, maybe someday, I'll come back with the band. And I always had a feeling that, when the retro thing started coming back, I had a feeling, I said, I'm pretty sure we're going to get back together. That and everybody was broke. It's another good reason to, to get back together. Everybody needed it, as much as, because, here we were, this is what we were doing for a living. And, and to break up, you can't just look up in the New York Times that wanted to be in a famous rock band, it's not one of those gigs. So, it's confusing.
Yeah, well, you guys do get back together. You do the benefit. It goes well. People are hungry, no pun intended, for more Twisted Sister. You guys get it going again. You put out the Still Hungry record, which is a re-recording of Stay Hungry with a couple of bonus tracks.
Yeah, and we did it in E flat. We did it a half step down.
Yeah, which is nowadays,
Standard,
Yeah, for sure. And 2006, Twisted Christmas. You never could have imagined. My theory is that you guys would have broke up again if that damn Christmas record didn't do so well. Am I right?
I don't know. It did do well, so it's hard to say what would happen.
Well, Dee would always threaten to go solo or leave again, it seemed. And that Christmas record just it was the gift that kept on giving. He couldn't leave.
Yeah. That was weird too, like him wanting to leave the band again. I'm like, because at first it was like he didn't want to keep performing at all, not just to go on his own. And yeah, there was a period there where he kept saying, well, I'm leaving the band by the end of this year. And then that didn't happen. I said, well, you can't do that. Why? I mean, then he would just say, okay, and then forget about it, and we kept on touring. So I forgot what year that was, but he kept saying on stage that he wasn't going to keep doing this anymore. And I think he went through a phase that he just thought he was going to be able to stop. And there was no reason to stop. We were headlining everywhere.
Yeah, and you're on
all these festivals, all
over
Europe. Huh?
You were on the Tonight Show at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we were bigger than ever, to be honest with you. I mean, so I didn't know why he was threatening to leave the band or suggesting that he wanted to leave the band. And then it never happened. It kind of went away.
Yeah.
Then we kept touring until 2016. We finally said, okay, well, this is the final tour. We're all in agreement with this. This is going to be the last tour for us.
Well, now I don't want to cause too much animosity between you and Dee, because I want to see Twisted Sister get back together, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I've always wondered about songwriting. So Dee recently sold his publishing for a lot of money, but I've always wondered, most of these songs are credited to just Dee as the sole writer. So did D play guitar? You tell me, did he really, how do you write a Twisted Sister song? I'm curious.
Well, he wrote the melody. Like he could barely play, so he would kind of sing the thing to me, and I would work it out with him. He would kind of have like a rough version of the chords. He could play guitar a little bit, like to kind of, a little bit to show the direction, and then I would kind of refine it, and say, okay, and he would just sing like that, da 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 da. He would tell me how to do it. Now, I pick up very easily. I work well with people, like as far as if they can vocally communicate something to me, and I could put it out, bring it out. So a lot of the time, all my guitar solos. I mean, I wrote a lot of theme solos, and those are my solos that I wrote. They didn't write those guitar solos.
Your signature parts of the songs. You can sing your solos.
Yeah, like Burning Hell. The Price, the whole beginning to the Price. Dee's even admitted it. I mean, he has said with the Price, at one point he wanted to give me half of the publishing, but he said, if it was a single, that just never worked out. But, I didn't put up a stink about it. I just okay, we're doing this. I did my best, came up with parts, and never got any writing credit for it. And, which every band is different. Like Eddie Van Halen used to write 90% of the songs,
right,
but he shared everything 25% with everybody in the band. Some bands, they just do that. Some bands don't. And Dee was very diabolical, I think, in his own words, as far as, putting all words and music by Dee Snider on every album, which I didn't think was necessary, because it just wasn't true. He did write all the lyrics, and he did come up with the melody. And at the time, he said, well, the guy who writes the melody is a songwriter. I said, well, because I did talk to him about, well, what about all the stuff I came up with, or even the parts on, on Under the Blade, for example. I came out with the do-do-do-do-do-dad, and that turned into almost like Strutter for Kiss, like they do the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, so, because Under the Blade we did that whole bit. So it was a small part, but I came up with that part. I came up with endings. There's a lot of things I came up with that I never got writing credit for. Even the stuff in Destroyer. Just a lot of these little guitar bits that I came up with, and a lot of the theme solos, which are melodies. They're not just some guy playing Chuck Berry riffs going rain in the rain in the rain. I would go there singable solos with their own melody. I mean, even the melody, like the Price, the beginning, that whole down, that's that I wrote that, and even the whole guitar picking thing, that was my idea. So I don't know. It's just
I think as a fan, we saw that. I think we knew that there was obviously more contributions to these songs than just Dee alone. Yeah,
obviously. I mean, because if he would have been able to play like that, he would have played that. He would have actually played like in Cinderella. With Tom Kiefer, he can play, so he plays. He plays it. So, but Dee just roughly played. He just knew how to kind of roughly put out a chord and sing. He's good at singing it.
Right.
He's good at singing it to me, so I could translate it into whatever it needed to be.
Yeah.
Well, you probably get different answers from everybody in the band.
Sure.
So it's just one of, a lot of people think. Everybody thinks differently of what happens.
Well, we all agree that Dee was a talented, smart guy, image and with these songs, but maybe there was other people who contributed.
Right. I mean, I think there should have been some writing credit. It should have been spread out a bit, because like I said, I wrote my solos. I came up with these theme bits for the songs. I came up with little parts here and there. Certain progressions during the solos. There's a lot of little stuff that I added to songs they've done. And AJ too. I mean, AJ came up with, he said, "Oh, play like a shuffle." And he went, I know it's just a beat, but
that's signature.
But that's a signature. It's one of those songs like when you hear the cowbell in Mississippi Queen. It's one of those drum songs that drum intros that the minute you hear it, you know what song's coming on. And I just think I think nobody cared, like made a big stink about it because we said, "Oh well, you know what? We're all going to do well, so it doesn't matter." At the time, you don't realize how important it is to fight for that. You just kind of.
No, I get it. In the moment,
well, you don't want to cause bad vibes. You don't want to. So, well, I'm not going to play if you don't do that. And so it's just you sort of there's things you just flow with, go with the flow.
Now, Eddie, we got some hot sauce to sell in a minute here, but I got to ask you the question, and I know you can't give me a definitive answer. Are we ever going to see Twisted Sister perform live again?
I don't think so. I mean, there might be some benefit or something that might happen, but I really doubt it. Because I think we've done it all. When we came back hard and heavy, and when we split on top. Sort of like Seinfeld.
Why didn't you play the final show in New York?
Not sure. For some reason, America, like as much as I'd see, requests and emails from people saying, "Oh, you guys got to play here, you got to play here." Whenever we played in the States, like people just didn't show up like they would in Europe. Everybody wants us to play, but then they don't go to the shows. And here it's just become the pop scene is kind of taken over, and the only guys that are really doing anything are like the Billy Joels and the Elton Johns. Those are the guys that can still do the Madison Square Garden. I mean, AC/DC is probably one of the few hard rock bands that can.
AC/DC, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, but that's kind of that's it.
And at this point, I don't know if even Guns N' Roses or Metallica could still, do like a stadium or a Madison Square Garden.
They might be able to. At least Guns, they just finished a stadium tour, but they also put their band back together. Same thing. They sat out a lot of years. It was hot, and they play them on classic rock. Guns N' Roses is like, it's playing like it's classic rock. You know what I mean? It's not. They didn't get labeled as a metal band or a hard rock band. It's being played, constantly. So they were able to do it. Last show was in Monterey. Is that right?
Yeah, in Mexico, and it was uneventful because it was miserable weather, and there was mud everywhere. I mean, it was like one of those muddy festivals. It was pouring when we were playing. I mean. People was still there. I mean, there was nobody left, but it was really bad weather. It's kind of like that's not the last show. Mm-hmm. We did like one of our best shows was Sweden Rocks. I can remember that. That's a show like that. That's how you want to do your last show. But unfortunately, we did it in Mexico, and it was fun. The show went off well, but. It was just gloomy. It was a really bad, when you do a festival in bad weather, it's just not the same.
Well, maybe it's just that I'm a fan and I still believe the fire still burns. I say you guys are going to do it again. You have to. You guys are still in shape. God bless AJ's not here to do it, but I can't imagine, that there's not one more, unless Dee's got too much money from selling that publishing. I feel like there's got to be one more shot. And like you said, maybe a benefit, maybe for a cause. But I think, sometimes fans don't realize what they got until it's gone. And there's all these people now who should have went to those Twisted Sister shows who are realizing you're going to be stuck seeing, some of these shit bands now, and you could have seen legends. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I don't know. It would be hard because, everybody's got a few more aches and pains.
Of course.
So it does get physically, the traveling is the hardest part.
Yes.
It's not, I mean, the playing is the best part, but, sometimes it would take 24 hours of traveling to get someplace, to do one show. When we started just doing stuff just doing festivals on the weekends.
You get paid to travel. The show is free.
Yeah. So it was that's a good way to put it. But and even though we had the best, I mean, definitely the last years, the whole time we got back together, it was always like headlining. They gave us the best accommodations. I mean, I can't, we finally got there. And so it's a good way to, and when we stopped, we were still headliners. And we could have done it again next year, but sometimes it's kind of good. Like some guys just keep going and playing smaller and smaller places, and then just drag the name through the mud.
I get it,
and that's sad to see that happen.
Look, you're gonna talk to the boys tonight. Put up with all their shit. Just listen to that, so we can get one more time in New York where it belongs. And I'm gonna get on the plane and come home to see you guys. So.
Yeah, it may not be New York, but
say it again.
Not be New York, because for some reason the state's just middle of hard rock is not really happening here.
True.
In America, I heard about Guns N' Roses getting back together, but I wasn't sure if they did. So are they touring?
Yes. Yeah, they do. They do stadiums. It's insane the business they do with. They have Slash and Duff and Axl. It's just the three. And then sometimes Steven would come out and they'd let him play a song or two. Very rare. They're working it.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, now with the pandemic, they had to.
No. But they're going over. They're going to go to Australia and do it now.
Okay, well, I didn't know about that because with this pandemic, everything is sort of stopped. So I wasn't sure.
No.
I was doing what.
There's a lot of
the whole Poison Motley Crue thing got canceled. That whole
yes, yeah. Okay, so
they said they wouldn't do it anymore.
All right, let's sell some hot sauce.
All right.
I have tasted this hot sauce. This is Eddie Ojeda's brand of hot sauce. Right. I've tasted, and I've only had one of these. I had the cherry habanero one. There are 3 different flavors, and before we get into
there's only 2. I don't make the apple anymore.
Okay, so the apple's discontinued. That's a collector's item if you have it.
That's what happened. Yeah, now everybody wants it.
See, it's just like the band. Now, I want to point out before we even get into this, you can purchase this hot sauce. I have a link right in the description of this video. And if you get it right now, 1, you support my channel, which is great. You support Eddie because he got screwed on the Twisted music. And there goes the reunion. And with this we did it. But anyway, it's a great deal. $26. You can get 3 different bottles of this. It comes with an ebook as well with different recipes. This is not just some bullshit that Eddie put his name on to sell. This is a product that he believes in, uses. It's really good hot sauce. And so I want you to tell me about these.
Well, a friend of mine who's a chef helped me make it. John Rosati. He has his own hot sauces out. And he had a wing sauce out, and I was talking to him about doing a hot sauce, and nobody had a cherry hot sauce, and I was like saying, well, I used to get gout attacks from my bunion sometimes, and that's uric acid. I don't know if people are familiar with gout, and it's just one of those things that's very painful. So when you eat cherries, it really helps it. I mean, they have medication for it too, but the cherries is a more natural way. So, I figured, I said, how about a cherry hot sauce? I really realized nobody had a cherry hot sauce out. So, we got together and put a couple of things together, batches together, and finally came up with the right recipe. And I started out with that. And then the other ones just came out of just adding some other things to it. The Carolina Reaper, the Peach Carolina Reaper, that's like the hottest pepper in the world now. And I met the the guy who created it came out with that strain. His name is Ed Curry, funny enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him about doing it. He was thrilled. I was going to do a hot sauce with using his pepper. And his name of his company is Pucker Butt, which is you see it on the label. He asked us, he okayed us to use his logo on our label, on my label. So, and those two flavors just came out of just adding to the inventory.
Right.
Just come up with extra stuff. And it's doing okay. I mean, it's a big competition. The hot sauce business.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of people doing it. These fruit-based hot sauces, though, really do have a different kick, and so people who haven't tried them, it really adds flavor to your food, not just heat. So I think that people will dig this. So, and if you don't like it, you got a really cool Eddie Ojeda collector's item, or gift.
People buy it and don't use it. It's funny.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
I say, how do you like it? They go, oh, I'm not going to use it. I said, well, why'd you buy 2 bottles then? Buy one you can use and one you could just put on, Some guys a lot of guys, there's guys that collect hot sauce from like all over the world. They'll have like a whole thing, about 60 to 100 different hot sauces. I've met some people that are real collectors, but they'll have the one that they have for show,
right?
And then they have the ones that they use. That's what you do. You don't just buy one.
Listen, I'm guilty. I've got some Joe Perry hot sauce that I never opened in the closet. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's a cool thing. And also, Eddie also has a line of coffee. And I interviewed David Elvson about a week ago, and we highlighted all the coffee. He explained, because I'm not a coffee drinker. I know it's crazy. I'm from New York, and they pick on us for the way we say coffee. But what can you do?
They do pick on us for that. I used to get a lot of shit about that. In England, they do pick up, like I said, coffee. And when I was touring in England, I said, coffee? Mm-hmm. Yeah, coffee. What we would say, cafe.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we get picked on. But so tell me a little bit about it, because I'm going to put a link for this too, so you can go buy this. Tell me how the coffee came about.
Well, I did a thing called Headbangers Con with Dave Elfson, and a partner of his, co-worker of his, his name Tom. I don't know if you met Tom, but Tom Hazard. He works with Dave quite a bit. I think they do some shows, some acoustic shows together. But he'd offered me about doing the coffee, because Dave Elfson has a coffee company. I said, that sounds cool. So they sent me a bunch of beans to try out. And I came up with 2 specific beans that I really liked. And that's how that came about. It's pretty easy. And it's really good. I mean, there's some people that I think it's really good. But I get a special discount.
Yes, true. Yeah.
But not just for that. It's really like it's the smell and everything. And there's some people that they have to have it. Some people say they just feel it's like the best coffee they ever had. So I mean, all the coffees are good. I've tried Dave's. I think I tried the Skid Row, which is Set to the Grind. It's pretty funny.
Perfect name.
Perfect name for a coffee. So. It's really good. It's really good coffee, and he gets really great beans, that's what it's all about. You get the right beans.
Yeah, have the right beans. Yeah. So I got links to all this down below. You can buy it. There's some Twisted Sister stuff you can buy. Buy all kinds of stuff. We got it. This is the time of year to shop. Stock up. Yeah. Well, listen, you're never going to not need coffee and hot sauce. Your food is going to be bland if you don't add a little hot sauce to it. So I'm going to order a case and put it behind me and display it proudly. So
that'd be good. Then you can try it too.
Yes. Well, I've had the cherry one. I need to have the other one.
The peach. Yeah, the peaches are like the hottest. Peach is like an 8 out of 10 heat wise.
A dab will do you then.
Yeah, like 10 being like Satan, like some stuff is just so hot. It's just, but some people just want to die. Some people want that. Like one guy said that the peach was not hot at all, and I said, you must have tried the wrong hot sauce, because the apple is mild. That's why I stopped making it, because it's too mild. People just thought it wasn't hot enough. So it was like a 3 out of 10. To me, the habanero, the cherry is like a 5 out of 10, and the peach is like an 8 out of 10. 10 being like, I mean, for people that like hot sauce, hot heads, 10 is like really, really, really hot. And which I think at that point, if you make it that hot, it's not edible. You know?
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Eddie, I'm going to get the coffee. I'm going to get the hot sauce. And if you'll join me, I'm going to bring you back, and I will try all these products with your approval, and I'll let you know if I can handle it.
Sure, that'd be good.
Yeah, and I'll do some of your recipes too that I get in the ebook. So
right,
we'll follow up.
Did I send you the ebook?
I'm going to buy the hot sauce. It comes with it.
All right. We'll get the ebook.
Yeah. And then because it has all these recipes, and I'm going to make some of the recipes, and then we're going to discuss. You know, I wanted to get through all the Twisted Sister history, and I'm thankful that you came and did that, because your fans are passionate, and you know, it's an honor. You don't sit and do this every day. There's not a million interviews with you, and so it's really a pleasure.
I don't do them often. I don't do them often.
Well, and I appreciate you doing it, and I know people like hearing from you. So Eddie, thank you so much. I'm hoping we'll see you back out here in Vegas soon enough. We'll do something.
Yeah, it should be. You know, I'm due to go there. It's just with what happened last year just messed everything up.
Yeah, hopefully things are going to pick up soon. And so again, thank you for joining us, Eddie. If you guys if you like this video, please subscribe, hit like, and like I said, and if enough people like this video, we're going to come back and have the taste test, and Eddie will judge. So anyway, thank you for watching.
That'd be fun.
Sounds good.
Okay, man.